Again, remember our theme for the evening. We still think fiscal responsibility leads to academic excellence, and you can't have one without the other, but you got to have the base.
Okay, our goal in Citizens for Accountability and our community goal should really be community-supported academic excellence. And what I mean by community-supported is really a multidimensional thought. Academic excellence needs to be supported with a very conscious, real desire to educate our community's kids. And we have to do that within our ability to pay, within what our fiscal reality is. We have no other choice. And in order to do all of this and have the system work, we really have to rely on a degree of balance. And what we have here is a budget which is out of balance. So overall, looking at the big picture, that's what we're trying to do. Now, the board's challenges, as I've outlined within the different constraints they have, and as Joe and Mark have brought up the monumental task that they really have at hand, their challenges are going to be tough. They're going to have to reduce expenditures to remedy the structural deficit. And again, remember, it's not a deficit that we just have this one year. It's a process that we've had historically going on, and it's projected to be continuing within the future unless something changes. They have to make budget decisions within what they can control, and there are only certain things that they can control with those independent or unilateral decisions that they can make. They have to work through a successful negotiation. This will be complex and challenging, as we've outlined. And we have to, or the board will have to modify the original March decisions, or they can modify some of the original March decisions later on. So it's all part of this really big, long process. And they have to do that within prescribed time limitations. So again, what I want you to remember, and I'm glad you asked that question about the 2 to 3 people in the room again, because it helped remind us, but we have to remember the importance of quality hearts and minds that are in that negotiating room, and that also are part of the group of 7 as they get together as a whole again to make cast their final votes for the board, or for the final negotiated contract. So we know our expenditures are exceeding at an alarming rate. We have a deficit dilemma. We have a board that has a big problem at hand. They have to deal with many of those decision levels, but we have to take action. If we don't change what's going to go on within our own community here, if we don't change our behavior, nothing about the situation is going to change. So what we really have to do is take action and move beyond our own comfort level. And what that might mean is talk to that neighbor when you're picking up the mail. It might mean talk to that other dad at the Boy Scout meeting that maybe you don't usually talk to, but you should strike up a conversation. Move beyond your comfort level. Share information with neighbors if you belong to a homeowners association and other citizens you encounter across the district. Be informed and ask questions. We know what we know tonight because we've asked a lot of questions. And one of the pieces of information that we can get in our question asking process is through a FOIA. If you're not familiar with that, that's Freedom of Information Act, where you are entitled to decisions, or excuse me, you are entitled to information from your school district about whatever it is. And of course, there's certain limitations to that in terms of privacy and stuff. But you know, if you want some financial information, they, by law, have to give it to you. Among the actions you can take are to submit an email to a board member. And you've already gotten some of the sheets when you signed in. There's information right in front of you phone number, their mailing address if you prefer to send a letter by paper, if you're not that familiar with your computer. You can also write a newspaper editorial, which I'm sure the board members will be reading, and everybody in the community gets to read it. But most importantly, you do have to give the board your input and/or your support, depending upon whatever perspective you're coming from. If you don't tell the board what you think, how can they follow your directive? How can they listen to the heart of this community if you don't let your board members know what is on your mind? Jane?
I'm just gonna interrupt briefly
Sure.
here. I'm one of those few people that gets up virtually every board meeting and says something. And I want to emphasize, as I stated earlier, the current board is not the board of the past. This board truly wants your input. In years past, when I started going, it was, you have 3 minutes, think for your mind, so that I'm sure I can get out of it, basically, is how you felt when you were done. They will listen, you will see dialogue amongst the board at a board meeting now, which we never had seen in the past. So it's not an effort in futility any longer. So if you have a strong concern, voice that concern and don't hesitate, because they truly do care, and they want to do it